Hey friends, welcome back to the Real Herbalists podcast. My name is Erin with two N's, and I am a holistic health coach, a home herbalist, and an artist. And I'm excited to share with you some fun and easy things about herbalism that can help you get started now. I just want to take this moment to remind you that a real herbalist is simply a human being that plays with herbs. So I hope this podcast can demystify herbalism as something that's difficult or scary and remind you that you already are a natural born herbalist. It can be very easy and super fun to make your own medicine at home, and I really encourage you to do so. Be sure to find me on YouTube at Homebody with Erin. Remember, Erin is spelled with two N's, or on Instagram at Erin with two N's, which I'll link below in the show notes. So today we are talking about 10 easy beginner herbalist projects that you can do at home now with very little supplies. So let's jump in. So first I want to talk about teas. This is probably a pretty obvious one, right? But it is honestly one of my favorite ways to play with herbs. I suggest getting yourself a little steeper basket so that you can make your own unique tea blends with your herbs. Not a tea ball. This is more of a little tea basket that sits on the rim of your cup or mason jar that you can fill with however many herbs or however much herbs that you want, and you'll steep with a lid on it. So this is one of my very favorite supplies that I love using to make my teas and infusions. So again, tea is sort of self-explanatory. You'll use about 1 tablespoon of herbs for 1 serving, give or take, right? Depending on how strong you like it and what herbs you're using. You'll pour your almost boiling water over your herbs and let it steep for 5 to 10 minutes to make a tea. So I suggest covering your steeper basket with a lid or like the top of a mason jar or something to just make sure that all of your volatile oils and medicinal properties do not evaporate out. You'll keep that steam in and it'll help keep the medicinal properties from evaporating. So that's going to be your tea. Okay, so second beginner herbalist project you can do at home is an infusion. So an infusion is basically the same as a tea, but it's going to be a little bit stronger and more medicinal. So the main difference between a tea and an infusion is that you're going to be steeping the herbs for much longer. So for an infusion, I would use a 1 quart jar. That's typically what I use. And again, you're going to use 1 tablespoon per serving. So that'll be about 4 tablespoons of herbs for a 1 quart jar. Again, give or take, depending on the strength that you want it and the herbs that you're using. An herb like lavender or peppermint is going to be very strong. And so in an instance like that, you might use less herbs, or if you're making a mixture with a bunch of different herbs, you probably use a little bit less than, say, an herb like oat straw that is very mild in taste. So again, just don't overthink it, but you'll get to know what you like, so just have fun with it. With an infusion, you're going to steep the herbs for longer, so from 1 to 24 hours. Do make sure you put that lid on again because we want to keep all the volatile oils and stuff in. It's more important to keep the lid on with an infusion than with a tea because you are going to be steeping for a longer period of time. So once it's done steeping for between 1 to 24 hours, you can even keep it in the fridge and enjoy drinking the infusion throughout the day for the next couple of days or so, which is kind of nice. I like doing it like that just so I don't have to keep making it over and over and over, especially if you're letting it steep for I typically do about 12 hours, but again, you can do from 1 to 24 hours. Next is an herbal latte. So basically for herbal lattes, I steep a regular cup of tea, and once it's steeped about 5 to 10 minutes later, I pour that tea into my blender. I add about 1/4 to 1/2 a cup of milk, some sweetener like stevia or honey or maple syrup, and then I blend it on high for 1 minute until it gets nice and frothy. So I actually have a video on my YouTube channel where I teach you how to make these. I'll link it below in the show notes if you want something that's a little bit more step by step and give you the measurements and stuff like that. Sometimes I also like to add other herbs into my herbal lattes, like 1/2 teaspoon of ashwagandha, which is nice. It balances out the stress response in the body. Sometimes I also add medicinal mushrooms like cordyceps or something, a small amount. I also really love adding a little bit of slippery elm powder. Slippery elm kind of makes it a little bit more thicker and gives it more of that, yeah, like more of that thicker latte feel. It's very soft on the digestive system too. So I love adding a little bit of slippery elm. Okay, next I want to talk about herbal lemonade. I almost forgot this one, but herbal lemonades is one of my favorites. So it's another thing where you're going to make a base of whatever tea you want to make. So you'll make your tea and then you'll let it cool. And then what you're going to do is pour it over top of some ice, add a squeeze of lemon or whatever citrus, honestly, you like. You can get creative with this, and then add your sweetener. And there you have your own little herbal lemonade. Instead of the water being the base for your lemonade, you have your tea. And then you have your nice cool ice, you have your sweetener, and it's just like a delicious drink that you can make yourself for the warmer months. It's really yummy. For herbal lemonades, I love chamomile, lavender is nice, peppermint is nice, especially when it's hot out because that peppermint has just like that really nice cooling energy. Also love oat straw. Oat straw is great for the nervous system and calming the body down. And it's also a nutritive herb. So it's very high in vitamins and minerals. And it has a very mild taste. So oat straw is great to add with other herbs or just to do on its own in an herbal lemonade or even an herbal latte. Next, we're going to talk about herbal baths. So you can literally add herbs to your bath water to help infuse into the water that you're sitting in your bath. So you can add your chosen herbs directly to your bath water, either dried or fresh, or you can make a tea first and pour that tea into the bath water. I actually suggest doing that more because I find that the bath water doesn't really get hot enough to infuse the herbs in the way that making a tea really infuses them. It is nice though to see the herbs floating around in the bath around you. So maybe you'll make a tea or an infusion, pour it into your bath water, and then add, like a little sprig of rosemary or something, or some rose petals to your bath water as well. But I just find that doing the tea or infusion and then adding that into the bath water makes it a bit stronger. That's just my personal preference. Again, you can do this whatever way you want to do it. So you can do this with fresh herbs like rosemary or also with dried herbs like chamomile, rose, lavender. You can also do this with essential oils, which is nice. So I do have a video on how to make an herbal bath with Epsom salt and baking soda. I'll link that below in the show notes if you want more specifics and measurements on how to do this, but it is very, very easy. Next, I want to talk about herbal infused oils. Herbal infused oils are one of my very favorite things to do with herbs, because they can be used to nourish your skin, calm anxiety, and heal skin ailments like bites, burns, cuts, eczema, psoriasis, etc., 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 sprains, sore muscles. I mean, the list goes on and on. So what you'll do is you'll add about 1 ounce of your chosen herb to a clean jar, and then you're going to add olive oil or whatever other carrier oil to the top of that. I really like jojoba oil for topical oils. It matches the oil of the human skin the closest. It is a little bit more expensive though. So olive oil is an easy one that you can get at your local grocery store. Again, just make sure you're getting organic. So what you'll do after you've combined your 1 ounce of herbs with your about 7 to 10 ounces of oil is you're going to keep it in a cool, dry place, cool, dry, dark place if you can, for 4 to 6 weeks, and give it a little shake every day. Shaking the jar helps to break up the herbs and release more of the medicinal properties into the oil. And after about 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to strain that oil. So strain it with like a muslin or cheesecloth or a nut milk bag to get the plant matter out of the oil. And then you'll have your beautiful infused oil. So for the skin, my favorite to start with are chamomile, lavender, rose, and calendula. Those are really, really great ones to begin with. For herbal infused oils, you do want to make sure to use dried herbs only. What happens if you use fresh herbs is that there is water content inside those fresh herbs, which will introduce bacteria into your oil and make it go bad faster. So it is much safer to just use dried herbs, or if you're harvesting from your own land or garden, you can harvest them, allow them to dry out, then make your oil. Next, I want to talk about culinary herbal infused oils. So basically, you'll do the same thing that I just said with the skin herbal infused oils, but you might do this with different herbs like sage, rosemary, thyme, paprika, coriander, salt, pepper, things like that, things that you would use in cooking. There are tons of really great recipes for culinary herbal infused oils in Cami McBride's book, The Herbal Kitchen. I highly recommend checking that book out. Honestly, she has tons of resources for most of the projects that I'm mentioning in this episode. So, again, The Herbal Kitchen by Cami McBride, a really, really great resource to check out. If you want to learn how to make these herbal oils for the skin and for cooking, I actually have a video class that you can take if you're someone who wants to go a little bit deeper or you want more specifics on how to extract the most medicine out of the herbs as possible. I'll leave the link to my class in the show notes. You can also check out, I have a lot of free videos on my YouTube channel where I don't go into as much depth, but there is a lot of information on my YouTube channel about herbal infused oils. So I do suggest going over there if you want to go deeper into this. Next, I want to mention herbal honey. So did you know that you can blend and powder your favorite herbs and add them to honey? This is so amazingly delicious. It's one of my very favorite herbal projects to do. So you can get creative and use whatever herbs you think would go well with honey. Some of my favorite are ginger, chamomile, rose, chai, and also sage. Sage is really great. It's also antibacterial, so it's great for like sore throat and things like that. But I also add these herbal honeys to my herbal lattes. I do like a ginger herbal honey. Oh my goodness, it is delicious. I've also done, I think, a ginger cinnamon. I've done rose and rose hips. Chamomile's a new one that I'm going to make soon. The chai honey I made was incredible. Again, The Herbal Kitchen by Cami McBride. She has a bunch of different herbal honey recipes in there, so I definitely recommend that book. Next is herbal vinegars. So herbal vinegars is basically the same. You're just infusing the herbs into vinegar for 4 to 6 weeks. You're going to shake it daily, the same as you would like a tincture or an herbal infused oil. These can be used as herbal hair washes for hair health and scalp health. They can be added to mocktails and cocktails. They can be added to salad dressings, marinades, or other recipes, or they can be taken straight if you like that kind of thing. I personally can't handle apple cider vinegar straight, but I know some people like to take a little morning shot of it, or, when they're not feeling well or whatever. Apple cider vinegar has a ton of health benefits. I just personally can't tolerate it straight up, but if you can, go for it. Herbs I've used to infuse into vinegar are chamomile, rosemary, lavender, sage, and you can get creative with it depending on what you're using it for and what herbs you enjoy tasting. Be sure when you make these herbal vinegars, though, that you're using a plastic lid or wax paper under a metal lid, because the vinegar will corrode the metal and you don't want that getting into your herbal vinegar. Yuck. Okay, next I want to mention spice blends. So did you know that you can take any blend of your favorite cooking herbs and powder them up and make your own spice blends? I do suggest, if you're buying herbs, to buy them in their whole form and then powder them. It will make them a lot fresher when you go to use them. You can buy them pre-powdered, but it's better to powder them yourself. It's your choice, but just that's the info on that. You'll see when you go to Mountain Rose Herbs or Star West Botanicals or wherever you get your herbs that oftentimes they have the option for you to get the whole herb or the powdered herb. The whole herb is preferred, again, if you have the ability to powder it, which you can just do in your blender or in your mortar and pestle. Sometimes, like for instance with spice blends or herbal honey, I found that you do really want to get it well powdered because you don't really want chunks of stuff in your honey, for example. But if you're making tea, it's not as important to get it fully powdered. So these are just the little nuances and things that you'll learn along the way as you experiment. I like to save old spice containers, from just spices that I've bought at the grocery store, and then obviously wash them in my dishwasher, keep the little plastic lid that has the holes in it, and then I fill up my own spice blends, and that is super fun for me. I love making citrus salt with dried lemon or orange peel. You can add some good high quality mineral salt, like real salt or pink Himalayan salt, and peppercorns. I even love drying out my own orange peel and lemon peel. It's a great way to just upcycle the rinds for your lemons and oranges that you're probably just going to throw away anyway. My other favorite blend is 1 tablespoon of rosemary, 1 tablespoon of thyme, and 1 teaspoon of fennel. It is an antibacterial blend that makes everything taste like sausage. It is so good. I love it for spaghetti, pizza, marinating meat, and even this weekend I visited my dad. So I was kind of out of my kitchen and out of my element, and I made some toast with a little bit of butter, and then I put that blend on top of the butter, and it was delicious. It tasted like sausage toast. So yeah, you can get creative with these things. So the last project I want to mention on our 10 Easy Beginner Herbalist project is pasties or pastilles. These are basically like little homemade herbal pills, for lack of a better word. So you're going to take your powdered herbs and you're going to blend them with warm honey and roll them into like a tiny little ball and almost create like a little pill. They are great for soothing sore throats, and you can find many different videos and recipes online. There's one with Rosalie Deforest where she combines rose, marshmallow, and sage. I've also seen slippery elm used for these. So these are great to make. They're a great alternative to like sore throat remedies and lozenges and stuff. Store-bought lozenges that have, sugar in them and other yucky ingredients like colorants and different things that, it's ironic these things are being sold for our health and to help us get better, but they have things like sugar in them and other things that actually aren't promoting our health. So if we can stop outsourcing that junk and just make our own in our home. Most of us probably have honey, and then you just powder some basic herbs. So yeah, that's another thing you can look into. Pasties. So that's spelled Pastilles, pasties or pastilles. I've seen it pronounced pasties. Okay, so that's the completion of our list of 10 easy beginner herbalist projects. I just want to give you full permission to mess this up, okay? So try things out. That's the only way you're going to figure out which herbs you like, which projects you like, how much to use, what works for you, and what doesn't. Remember, herbalism isn't just about reading these things in books. It's about getting your hands on these plants and start playing with them. That's the only way you're really going to learn and get comfortable and know what works and what doesn't work for you. So don't be afraid to mess this up. It's okay to use too many herbs or too little herbs or create combinations that you don't end up liking. That's okay. I just want to give you full permission that all of that is okay. It's part of the process. And just let yourself have fun, get creative, get inspired by recipes that you see, or just use your own imagination and combine herbs and things that sound good to you. That's how I created the Herbal Latte, is, just following what I felt like would be good and creating it. So again, follow your own intuition. This is about you having fun, nourishing your own body, nourishing your own health, having fun getting creative. So just, do your thing and enjoy yourself and let go of the need to know everything and figure it out perfectly and just have fun. So thank you for being here. If you liked this podcast episode, give it a follow so you get notified when I post again. My intention is to post weekly. If you want more ideas, recipes, and information like this, I highly suggest checking out my YouTube channel. It's called Homebody, one word, with Erin. Remember, Erin is spelled with 2 N's. I have an Herbalism for Beginners playlist with a ton of content like this, but in video form. And I also have a recipes playlist where you can enjoy some of my favorite recipes. If you're on Instagram, come over and say hello. I am at Erin with 2 N's, and I'll post the links in the description to everything that I've mentioned here, as well as my herbal offerings. All right, friends, take care, have fun with this. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to send me requests, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Lots of love.